Hello, and welcome to Shaking and Sipping. This is the show where we shake up a cocktail or other mixed drink, have a sip, and then talk a bit about how it is, its history, maybe look at some variants, etc. We're continuing our quest to work through the IBA's official list of cocktails to see how those stack up. We're in the second section, the contemporary classics, and this week's contemporary classic is the Golden Dream. Now, the Golden Dream is not a cocktail I'm incredibly familiar with. I have never had one, so this is going to be a first for me. And we're going to have to dig into that a little bit, I think. I'm not sure how classic it is. There's certainly write-ups of it on the internet. It definitely exists. But I'm not really sure that this drink has been ordered by anyone since about 1972. It just feels like an odd drink. It feels slightly illegal to order today, but apparently it is deserving of a place on the IBA's list. One thing that's sort of indicative of the lack of current popularity of this drink is looking at its Wikipedia page. So its Wikipedia page is entirely 3 sentences, all 3 of which are just slightly modified from a single paragraph of The Kitchen blog entry from 2008. It's no longer on the Kitchen's website, but you can find it on the Wayback Machine. And literally the entire Wikipedia page comes from one paragraph of that article. Unfortunately, most other online write-ups seem to have also copied their history either entirely from the Wikipedia page, or they found that the Kitchen article as well and have used basically that. So you will find a dozen plus write-ups of this drink that have sort of three basic notes. It says this is a drink consisting of orange, triple sec, Galliano, and cream. It'll say that it's an after dinner or dessert drink. It'll say that it was created by someone called Raimundo Alvarez somewhere in Miami, called something like the Old King's Bar or the Old King Hotel. There's a few slight variants on that. And it will say that the drink was dedicated to the actress Joan Crawford. I'm not sure that any of those things are true. In doing a bit more searching, I can't find any sources for any of that other than this article in The Kitchen. Every other article comes after that, so that's clearly the original source for those, at least of things that are extant that I was able to dig up. I did find an interesting note, only a single line, on Cointreau's write-up of the drink, which credits it to a bartender called Leroy Caron, or Charon, or Charon, or something like that. I'm going to pronounce it Caron. And they say he created it in 1959. So I did a bit more digging there, and that story appears to be true. So Leroy Caron's an interesting guy. He was a bartender at a restaurant in Palo Alto in California, and he was president of the California Bartenders Guild before there was a U.S. Bartenders Guild, which he later was also either president or was at least on the board of the U.S. Bartenders Guild for many years. And he appears to have competed in a competition called either the U.S. Cocktail Competition, or perhaps the American National Cocktail Competition in 1959, and he created the Golden Dream, as far as I can tell, for that event. Now, I can't find any contemporaneous reports on this. I'm not even sure what month it was supposed to happen in, so I can't try to pull relevant newspapers or anything, because I don't know what city it happened in or what month it happened in. But it does appear to have happened, and he appeared to have competed in this contest in subsequent years, and he won it again in 1962 with some other drink that has golden in the title. I don't remember what it was. So as far as I can tell, this story about Raimundo Alvarez, whoever he was, if he existed, isn't true. And maybe it was dedicated to Joan Crawford. I have no idea, but that's not mentioned in any of the write-ups of Karen's drink for the competition, so I don't know what that's about. There's also a note in the Wikipedia article that it was very popular, especially on the East Coast. That could be true, I have no idea, but it was apparently invented in California by a California bartender and then head of the California Bartenders Guild. So that's about all I can find out, is that this drink appears to have originated in 1959, enjoyed some popularity in the 60s and 70s, and then I don't know if anyone makes it ever again. So, with that history out of the way, let's talk a little bit about it. So I mentioned that its ingredients are triple sec, orange juice, cream, and Galliano. Now, we haven't had Galliano on the show before, This is an Italian liqueur, though it's bottled in Holland for reasons that I don't quite understand. But it's an interesting product. I have not tried this in many years, so I'm going to try it first because I remember not liking it. It's sort of a vanilla anisette, and in my recollection, I don't like this product. So I have some various ideas of how we might tweak the drink without it. But first, let's just figure out, do I like it? I don't love the nose. It's anise, but also rooty, kind of sassafrassy. It's very sassafrassy, but in a weirdly sharp way. I don't love that. We'll see how that is in combination with other things, but it's very hot. The first note is just sort of heat, not like spicy, but just like alcohol heat, but it doesn't taste like cheap alcohol. It just tastes of heat. Then a lot of anise on my tongue, a little bit of lingering vanilla, and then it really is just sharp in the back of my throat. My mouth feels kind of on fire. Yeah, I certainly don't like that up. We'll see how it is in the drink. Like I said, I've never made this. I've grabbed a bunch of other bottles of things because I've been thinking about how we might make a tweak on it. But let's just see how the first one is, and then we'll go from there. All right, we're going to start off with the IBA spec, which is very similar to just about every other recipe I've seen of it. The only thing that varies slightly is how much triple sec is in the drink. Other than that, everyone has this pretty much the same, which is equal parts of the triple sec, Galliano, and orange juice, and then a slightly smaller amount of cream. So let's get started with that right now. We're going to start with our cream. We want 10 milliliters, or about 1/3 of an ounce. I'm starting with the cream because I am using double cream. Some recipes call for single cream, or like a less, like a non-heavy whipping cream, a light whipping cream, or a half and half. Because I'm using double cream, the viscosity means we're going to be left with a ton left over in the jigger here. So we want the other things to help wash that out. Next, we're going to go ahead and juice an orange. I'm using a Katakata orange here, which is why that color might be a little bit more pink than you would expect. I really like Katakata oranges, and also the selection of navel oranges I wasn't jazzed about. So we're going to go with this, and we want 20 milliliters, or 2/3 ounces. The same 20 milliliters, or 2/3 ounces of our Galliano. And the same 20 milliliters, or 2/3 ounces of triple sec. Many recipes call Cointreau by name. I think it makes sense here, and I did find my first hint at the real story on Cointreau's website, so props to them. That is all that's in this drink. I'm going to grab some ice. We'll give it a shake. All right, so I'll add our ice. Now, the IBA's instructions on mixing are a little bit odd to me. They say shake briskly for a few seconds, making it sound like we don't want to overshake this, which seems strange because pictures of the drink often are very thick and frothy. Some of the write-ups note that it's very thick and frothy. Generally, when we're using cream, we want to shake quite heavily, maybe even doing a dry shake before or after the wet shake. So it seems weird to me that we'd want to really try to limit our shaking here. I'm just going to do kind of a regular shake on it because I'm not sure what the IBA is looking for. Let's do it. And I'm going to strain that into an ideally chilled Nick and Nora glass. And then this is traditionally not garnished, so this is our IBA spec, Golden Dream. Smells largely of nothing. Doesn't really taste of anything. Okay, as it sits there and I breathe it in, I get some orange in the back of my tongue. Yeah, front of palate, incredibly muted. Very little happening there. A slight sort of sweetness, but not really a sugariness, just like a hint that there's some sweetness. Then I get a little bit of orange, a little bit of some of the spices from the Galliano. It's not really reading extremely anisette, just sort of in general that there are some spices that have been tossed in. Then a very light orange. There's a weird flavor though, kind of mid-palate, which is the Galliano, I think. Again, it doesn't really read as anisette, but it just reads as weird. I don't hate it. It's really nondescript. There's just not that much happening here. I think we're supposed to have that creamsicle experience. But yeah, I don't really. It's too muted and kind of all over the place. This isn't very good. So, as I mentioned, there aren't really that many write-ups of the drink beyond things that just sort of quote those 3 facts from Wikipedia that I gave you. So there aren't a lot of variations out there. The only variation that comes up with any frequency is to use ice cream, vanilla ice cream, in place of the heavy cream or light cream, and then blend it, right? Create a creamier, even more desserty drink. I don't think that'd be bad, but I don't think that's going to help this drink. If anything, that's going to make the problem worse, which is that there's just not enough happening to stand up to even the heavy cream that I used. If you put that into vanilla ice cream, it would just taste like vanilla ice cream that had something weird about it. It doesn't sound like a good move for me. The other variants, like I said, is like Cointreau's site uses a slightly lower proportion of Cointreau to everything else. A couple sites use a slightly higher proportion of cream, but use a lighter cream. I don't think I really want to play with any of that. So I'm going to try to come up with something a little bit different here that I'm hoping will be successful. I want to taste more of the orange in the drink. And I also want to kind of get that creamsicle vibe that the drink I think was originally intending to go for. So we're going to kind of do this on the fly and see how it works out. This is kind of what I thought was going to happen. Alright, so for version 2 here, we're going to start off with a couple dashes of Regan's Orange Bitters. We're going to add to that 45 milliliters of our orange juice, about 1.5 ounces. 30 milliliters of Cointreau, about 1 ounce. And 1/2 ounce, or 15 milliliters, of a London Dry Gin. That may seem like a weird choice since I'm trying to get away from some of the weird notes of the Galliano, but I always find that London Dry Gin and orange has a really interesting interaction, which reads as sort of a candied orange, like you would have oranges if they were in like a pie. And so I think that's going to work here in that smaller quantity. We're going to have to find out, but I think that's going to work. And then we're going to throw in a bar spoon of my 2-to-1 simple, because we don't have the Galliano here to add sweetness. The Cointreau and the gin are both very dry, so we need something to bring that sweetness back, or else the orange won't really read as orange. Alright, so you may be wondering what the heck we're doing, since it seems like I'm making this clearly cream-focused drink without any cream, but we shall return to it, I promise. We just need to give this a shake first. I'm going to strain that into an ideally chilled coupe. And then I'm going to set that aside. Alright, now I'm grabbing a set of shaker tins that have been in the freezer for a while and are nice and cold. I'm going to throw in my spring from my Hawthorne strainer to get better agitation. I'm going to add 1/2 ounce, or 15 milliliters, of our cream. Gonna add about a third of a bar spoon of ultra-fine sugar. About half to a third to a half bar spoon of dry curacao. And just a splash of Mexican vanilla extract. And we are going to dry shake. Now we're just floating a bit of our sweetened vanilla cream mixture. And we're just going to twist just a little bit of orange oil over the top of it and discard. And this is kind of my rethink on a sort of dreamsicle cocktail. So notice I get a lot of the orange, obviously. Okay, so the first sip, I just got the cocktail itself, which is what I was trying to do. Second sip, I'm starting to get that cream as well. So I like it a lot more. It has flavors now. It actually tastes of orange. I think you could actually, if you still wanted to read completely dessert drink, throw in a hair more sweetness into the main part of the drink. I think the cream is plenty sweet. Yeah, so this is not the most complex cocktail I've ever had or ever made or ever created. But to me, this now actually reads as a thing. I think I might actually build this in a longer glass and serve it with a straw so that you could better control when you're getting cream to underlying liquid. Though I guess you can turn the glass back and forth. Yeah, so flavor notes, it tastes of oranges with just a little bit of a tweak to it, and that's because we have the orange liqueur, the orange bitters, the little bit of sweet, and so that with the orange just reads as interesting orange. The gin, as expected, doesn't read as gin, it just reads as, again, a little bit of a sort of candying spices being added to the orange. The cream is super rich and vanilla-y. Kind of tastes like, melted ice cream, which goes along with that variant that we saw before. But here I can control how much is in there. This isn't the prettiest drink in the world. Definitely would want to double strain the orange juice, use a more bright orange, navel orange juice to show up better, and then maybe experiment with building it a little bit longer and having a better way to separate or control the proportion of cream to drink. And I like this quite a bit better. This reads creamsicle, or is it dreamsicle? I get them confused. Whatever it is, it reads as that orange creamsicle thing. It's a dessert drink, but now it's slightly less just mouthful of cream, flavors unknown. Now it's clearly, this is some sort of a orange beverage, and we've got a fun little vanilla cream bit. Alright, well thanks so much for coming along with me this week as we looked at the Golden Dream and a little variant on it. We'll have a few more Galliano episodes. It shows up in a few more of the drinks in the IBA, so we'll see if maybe my opinion changes of it at some point. If you do mess with my version of it, I'd love to hear in the comments how you do it. Maybe if you came up with a better presentation than that one I just did, because I don't love the look of that at all. But thanks so much for coming along. Visit the blog at shakingandsipping.com. We'll have a write-up on this and each other drink, as well as most weeks. The day after the video post, we'll have a IBA in real life, where we go to a local Seattle cocktail bar and order the drinks, see if they have variants, if they make it often, etc. The way you'll know when those post is if you follow on Twitter at shaking_sipping. Post very infrequently, but you'll know when those sorts of posts are happening. Other than that, do all the YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends. I would appreciate it, and I'll be back next week with the next drink on the IBA's list. Until then, happy sipping. Cheers.